Zuckers are unusual.
They're outrageous.
They're like kids. I mean, it's like you feel, when you're around them, you just feel like being a kid again.
I feel that I've grown from the experience of making ghosts. And that I no longer have the need to do kind of silly, stupid comedy.
They love surprise and unpredictability.
Frank, Jane.
I definitely don't think they're crazy. I just think they have a justifiable grudge against a lot of the BS that we see in the world, and they get out there and pop those balloons.
They're psychological, psycho but logical. Maybe, in fact, that everyone else is crazy and they're quite sane.
They give the impression of being two horny kids.
With a real willingness to just be stupid.
Have clearance, Clarence.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
We'd like you to have this flower from the Church of Religious Conscience. Oh!
We're the specialist, eyes, ears, nose, and throat.
He's eyes, I'm ears, he's nose. We all the throat.
Got a girl named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy.
Is this some kind of bust?
Well, it's very impressive, yes.
She rocked me to the east, she rocked me to the west, but she's the girl that I love best. So Tutti Frutti.
Cream? No, thank you. I take it black. Like my man.
Hi, Jerry. How are you, honey? We're in a white stretch limo. The lights are on us. The camera's rolling. They're recording everything we're saying. I shouldn't tell them anything, Jerry? What sort of things should I not tell them? I shouldn't say that you were a bad child, and that I really write all your movies. David and Jerry pick out the role for me, and even if it's a one-liner, and I accept it gladly and enthusiastically. You know, when it started before the movies, David and Jerry were doing video bits in the basement and in the kitchen of our house when they had Kentucky Fried Theater in Madison. There was one bit where they had me sewing without a thimble.
Ladies, how many times has this happened to you?
I had pricked my finger, and that was very difficult. But now, with Wonder Thimble, how wonderful it is. And I held up my hand to show Wonder Thimble. And David said, no, Mom, not like that. Put these fingers down. Now say Wonder Thimble. And I was so naive. I didn't know what he was doing, but I caught on pretty fast. But it went on film anyhow.
Our first objective was to move the entire show, the Kentucky Fried Theater show, out to Hollywood, and then hopefully we'd get discovered and be on the Tonight Show.
I have never met this next group of performers, and so I will just read you the notes that we have here, but I will leave it to you here in the studio audience to be nice to them, because this is their first appearance on the Tonight Show.
It's almost like he was saying they're not very good, and here they are, the Kentucky Fried Theater. So we come on and we do our stuff. I would announce a fried egg, and then Jerry would flop down and wiggle. The audience is applauding a little bit, and the shot comes back to Joey Bishop, and he's going.
Our humor is very much based in coming from Milwaukee, because Milwaukee is very much a place where things come to, not from. And people in Milwaukee, as a result, have a kind of a self-deprecating sense of humor, and a way of poking fun at the big guys. And so that's really what we were doing in a way. We were making fun of Hollywood.
All we were saying is the emperor has no clothes. And we were saying it about movies and about a specific genre of movies, about disaster movies.
They're interested in parodying movies that everybody's seen. This is not the homage in the way that French directors or European directors generally like to play off routines. In many ways, they are the light side.
I'll always remember you. And I'll miss you most of all, Scarecrow.
The day Ghost opened, David called me up and said, you know, that pottery scene, that's going to be a classic. We can spoof that. Somehow, to me, that means legitimacy. If people are making fun of you, you have arrived.
Now, from the brother of the director of Ghost.
If you look at our earliest stuff on videotape, those bits we did in the basement of our house in Milwaukee in 1970.
You know a little girl named Rosie what used to live on Tahunga Boulevard?
Yeah, I don't know, Copper. All of a sudden my memory it ain't so good.
Maybe it's still refreshing your memory.
That was a bad memory.
Well, this should refresh it.
You can see the same humor at work in Naked Gun.
Maybe this will refresh your memory.
I don't know, it's still kind of hazy.
How about this?
Yeah, I remember him. I used to see him around. Why do you want to know?
I can't tell you that.
Well, maybe this'll help.
I really don't think I should.
Yeah, you still don't think so?
All right, his name is Nordberg.
When we first started on the stage in Madison, it was like anything goes. Anything was funny. It was those days in that era, and it was very free-spirited and free-thinking and all the things that those things were. And my recollection of the theater mostly is looking out into the audience and just seeing a sea of hair. Everybody had hair. All the guys had hair on their faces and hair down to here, and the women all had hair down to here. So you just see a sea of hair and army jackets, actually, because that was the attire of the era.
You know, 70, 71 was just the time when it was starting to be okay to laugh again at something that was just silly.
Should premature ejaculation occur, the Joy of Sex album comes equipped with Big Jim Slade.
I'd never seen their show, and I went and saw their show, which was very funny and very successful. They were making money on that thing, and so we made a movie that was based on their show.
Big Jim has satisfied women throughout the world. Big Jim, former tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, is outfitted with various whips, chains, and a sexual appetite that will knock your socks off.
Kentucky Fried Movie was raucous. Raw.
Show me your nuts.
Oh, how you doing? But very funny.
Mrs. Burke, I thought you were Dale.
You know, people often mistake me for my teenage daughter, Dale.
We got the idea. It was sort of like one of those Andy Hardy movies. Well, Bob, you're a producer, and we're writers, and John Landis, he's a director. Let's do a show. And that's kind of what happened as we put the movie together based on the Kentucky Fried Theater.
There was a skit they did in their show that was a parody of a commercial for air freshener.
I remember the day the girls came over for bridge club. I was so embarrassed because of lingering odors.
The first woman comes in and says,
Fish for dinner last night?
and the second woman comes in and says,
Phew, aren't we still smoking the cigars?
the third woman comes in and says,
Christ, did a cow shit in here?
and I said, this is so stupid. I don't want it in a movie. We had big fights about it. And I shot this thing, and I'm shooting it thinking, oh, God, this is huge laughs, huge laughs in the theater.
Another one was a parody of an industrial film called Zinc Oxide and You.
But how do I use zinc oxide?
If it weren't for zinc oxide, you wouldn't have that bar of soap, your toaster, that brassiere you're wearing, the heat control on your stove, the safety catch on your son's rifle, the emergency brake on your car, your artificial limbs. Yes, zinc oxide at work in our daily lives.
Then after that came Airplane, and I was the crazy lady to decide to put makeup on during great turbulence. And of course I got the lipstick all over me and the rouge and the mascara and the eyebrow pencil. And I always felt that that was how my boys got at me for all the things that I had them do as kids.
We started watching this movie 0 Hour, from which we largely borrowed the plot and characters for Airplane.
Look, he isn't a pilot.
Now you know. Mr. Stryker is the only person aboard who can fly this plane. The pilot in the war, and we can all help him by not getting in a panic.
It seemed to us the funniest if we could get actors just like the actors in that movie to play it straight.
All right, I'm going to level with you all. Most important thing now is that you remain calm. There's no reason to panic. Now, it is true that one of the crew members is ill. Slightly ill. But the other two pilots are just fine. They're at the controls flying the plane.
It's when you look at somebody like, Lloyd Bridges or Robert Stack, not like fun masters,
It was a great idea of theirs, having so-called heroic characters, They've done these different series where they could do no wrong.
Picked the wrong week. Quit sniffing glue.
Now, all of a sudden, Bob Stack and Leslie Nielsen and I were doing things that were completely wrong.
I don't know which one of them came up with the idea. Why don't we get Kareem Jabbar? Well, it seemed crazy, but yet, everything was crazy, so why not?
I think you're the greatest, but my dad says you don't work hard enough on defense.
One of the times I was supposed to grab the kid. Listen, kid, he's just a little kid, and I pulled him and he went flying. He was halfway into my lap. I'm out there busting my buns every night. Tell your old man to drag Walton and Lanier up and down the court for 48 minutes. As a result of this film, every time I get on a plane, one of the pilots or the navigator will come out and ask me if I want to fly the plane.
I was just another actor looking for another job, and I was willing to shave my head to get a part.
Saw that I was looking at me.
I didn't know what the heck was going on. I didn't associate comedy with the type of comedy that they were going for, because they really break through that fourth wall.
I don't know if the studio got it. I think the studio at the time thought it was, hey, this is Animal House on an airplane.
What they managed to do, they managed to insult everybody.
Donation for Reverend Moon?
Everybody. Like the Jewish airplane with the thing over it.
Air Israel, please clear the runway.
And the blacks talking jive.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Cuddy say can't hang.
Oh, stewardess, I speak jive.
Oh, good.
Just hang loose, blood. She's gonna catch up on the rebound on the men's side.
What it is, Big Mama? My mama didn't raise no dummies. I duck a rap.
Cut me some slack, Jeff.
I can't think of any other picture ever made that could have offended as many people and didn't. And everybody loved it.
Hey, Larry, where's the forklift?
Forklift! It's over there by the baggage loader.
And then after that came Top Secret. I'm going to say that Top Secret was my favorite of all their movies. And the reason I think it's a surprise is that it was not a box office hit.
It was very esoteric. I don't know if the mass audience was really going to respond to a rock star in World War II.
I love a lot of affection for many of the scenes because they were really, they were very clever. There were a lot of things that were really truly bizarre in that movie. We filmed an entire bar fight underwater. There was a scene that was entirely filmed backwards, and we reversed the film so they're walking forward, but their voice, they're speaking that kind of noise that you hear when you play dialogue backwards, and we subtitled it. We're claiming that it's Swedish, which is what that sounds like.
Then after that came Ruthless People.
You fucked with the wrong person! My husband worships the ground I walk on! When he hears about this, he will explode!
It was after Ruthless People that we really decided we all wanted to go our individual ways, and that we really weren't going to grow or change if we were all going to have to pick the same movie and do it as one. So Jim went on to direct Big Business. I directed Ghost.
Go to me. Go to me.
Damn, baby, what you do to your hair?
And David went on to do The Naked Gun.
How hot and wet do you like it?
Very hot and awfully wet.
The idea for Naked Gun actually came from television. We used to love this old series called M Squad.
My name is Frank Ballinger, Detective Lieutenant, M Squad, a special detail of the Chicago Police.
So we kind of thought what a great thing to put Leslie Nielsen as that Lee Marvin character.
I don't want to answer any more of your questions.
We're sorry to bother you at a time like this, Mrs. Twice. We would have come earlier, but your husband wasn't dead then.
So they asked me to do a movie that would be a parody of M Squad. I say, are you kidding? You're out of your mind. I'm dying to do this.
Hey, who are you?
I'm Lieutenant Frank Drebin, Police Squad. And don't ever let me catch you guys in America.
Now, knowing Leslie, I'm amazed that he could ever do drama, that he could ever be in those movies and say these kind of silly lines with a straight face.
And when they're all dead, what's it all for? Because of something they believe in? Or something that you believe in? What makes you think you can choose between life and death for those people out there?
The truth hurts, doesn't it, Habsburg? Oh, sure. Maybe not as much as jumping on a bicycle with a seat missing, but it hurts.
They took a man who had a great career as a great actor and trashed him.
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Let me help you with that. There's a wonderful freedom that happens with doing this kind of insanity. Because of the way I look, or how I carry myself, perhaps how I sound.
Oh, say, can you see?
Whatever it is, there was always a kind of expectation about myself. I really think part of that had pursued me all of my life. Now I can be as dumb and as stupid as I want, and people say, yeah, well, what do you expect? It's Frank Drebin.
Oh, Frank. Whoa! Everyone should have a friend like you.
My character is more like the Wile E. Coyote. No matter what happens, he ends up getting somewhat abused. I'm abused in the show, and I think in my first few years in Buffalo, I was abused. We didn't have the greatest team, and she just kind of took it and kept smiling, you know. Basically, that seems to be the attitude of Norberg. He just takes it and, hey, and keeps doing his job.
Police! Throw down your guns!
The whole film cracked me up. And here I am, these assimilating bullets hitting me. It went so bizarre, you know. All of a sudden, my hand is on a hot stove, and even more bizarre, now I fall on my shoulder on some wet paint. My hand is scalded, but I'm worried about this wet paint. And, you know, the window goes down on the hand, and all of a sudden there's a wedding cake. I'm in the wedding cake, right? Because once my head went into the wedding cake, I couldn't see. I had to find that bear trap, right? And when I went out the door, I just went over the edge. You don't expect this to happen to OJ, you know?
Basically, what we do is set up familiar situations and reverse people's expectations of the outcome. And so in that way, it's like scenes we like to see in Mad Magazine.
There it is.
The original idea was it's just the autopilot inflates and then deflate, and then Julie having to blow it up was another idea thought by someone else, and then somebody else thought up the idea of how about then they smoke cigarettes. So that's how the collaboration works.
Every day somebody would bring up something new and it would be fun. We explore it, and we always loved to find a situation where there was a lot of things that could happen, like a ballpark.
The big step is thinking of the idea, Drebin in a baseball field.
Once you get Drebin on a baseball field, it's like a kid in a candy shop. Look out.
Everybody would just start jamming on ideas. It would just be something everybody wanted to see or wanted to do.
How about that?
Bert is the one who started with the puns and the gags, and and the boys just did that all the time.
Yeah, this was our dinner table fare all the time. Puns, who could outdo, and
Jim and Jerry and I started evolving one after another these, what we called our 15 rules of comedy, which we can never remember.
A don't do is anything that Jerry Lewis would do.
I always remember joke on a joke. That was the first rule. You can't do two jokes at the same time. You can't have something happening funny in the foreground and something happening in the background that's funny at the same time.
Something might be too silly that it would blow reality, so we wouldn't do it.
Particularly miles, of course.
That's impossible. They're on instruments.
You can't have a character talking to another character and then looking into the camera and saying anything.
Don't you feel anything for me at all anymore?
I can't live with the man I don't respect.
The 15th rule was that there are no rules.
What a pisser.
Jokes are really made up in the writing, and then once you get it onto the set, the actors say the lines, and sometimes it doesn't work.
If you get in there and start to read a line a certain way, he says, no, I want you to pause in between this line and that line, but make the lines faster. I want you to look over there on that word and look over there on that word. And so you say, okay. Now remember all those things.
This time, David is really gone for heavy-duty precision. And so we have been doing takes 20, 30 times.
David is very precise, and he'll go through any lengths to get the take that he wants.
I think the record is, I think it was 26 takes. And but one of the highest was oddly enough, was one of Priscilla's dance routines.
There's a lot of things involved with it. There were a lot of people, a lot of extras that day. The skirt's supposed to come off. I row and I do a twirl. I land on a table. He hands me the olive. Everyone kept asking me if they knew how many olives I had. Did I actually eat these olives? I got so involved I hadn't realized that I had eaten 21 olives. So much was going on. The landing had to be right. There were flowers that were in front of me. My head would sometimes go way above the flowers or way below. They'd be in my face. And we had to keep doing it over. And I guess we did, I don't know, I hate to even say how many takes it's so, it just gets so involved.
There's one peculiar thing that David does that is most peculiar. David and Bob White, Bob Locash, and when he's here, Jerry Zucker, too. They sit behind these three little monitors, giving you an instant replay so that you don't have to wait for dailies.
That's good. That's as good as we're ever going to get. I mean, that's perfect.
That's the other thing. When it's funny, or partially funny, you hear them.
You get to distinguish whose laugh is whose, by about the second day. David has this very high laugh, very, very high-pitched, contagious laugh.
It can be very distracting because there's the camera and we're acting here, say, and over there somewhere, out of sight, not in an island or anything, is Video Village. And you very often know instinctively if you've got something right because you finish the scene and then everybody stands around in case we do it again. And then you hear all this completely hysterical laughter from around the corner.
That was good. Yeah. No, I think that was good. Let's play that back. That was funny.
My favorite scene might be the scene in Habsburg's dining room. Leslie comes in.
Nice party, Habsburg. See a lot of familiar facelifts.
And what happens is he's escorting Dr. Meinheimer, who was actually the imposter, in his wheelchair up towards the stage. Some coffee is spilled onto the switch, and the wheelchair runs amok, and it turns into this very funny melee as the wheelchair breaks up the whole party and then ultimately goes flying out the door.
And then we cut to my mother, who's sitting with some other ladies, including my sister. And she's saying something like,
For a man in a wheelchair, he gets around marvelously well. Something like that. I think I left out a few words, and by golly, I'm going to get every single word right.
And so in the background, we see the wheelchair going past the moon like it did in E.T.
For
line is supposed to be, and for a man confined to a wheelchair, he seems to get around marvelously. But God knows what she's going to do with the real words.
I hope I don't forget my line.
Charlotte's line here isn't it amazing how well he gets around in that thing?
I could get used to this, you know. Watch your step.
Why Charlotte's so good? Well, we interviewed a lot of mothers, and we decided in the end that ours would be the best suited.
We'll do one rehearsal without the thing going.
For a man confined to a wheelchair, he seems to get around marvelously.
Roll camera, please.
And for a man confined to a wheelchair, he certainly seems to be having a lot of fun.
Have fun. It certainly seems to be having a lot of fun.
Charlie, camera only, Mark.
And for a man confined to a wheelchair, he certainly seems to get around confined to a wheelchair. He certainly seems to get around marvelously. Seems to get around marvelously.
This time, Mom, try not to pause.
Without pause, Charlotte.
And for a man confined to a wheelchair, he certainly seems to get around marvelously.
Mark.
And for a man confined to a wheelchair, he certainly seems to get around marvelously.
Once again, please.
And for a man confined to a wheelchair, he certainly seems to get around marvelously.
That's a wrap.
Oh, you did real good, Mom.
I'll never say that line again as long as I live.
Ladies and gentlemen, Charlotte Cooker.
They don't try to tell people what's funny. They put up on the screen what they think is funny, what is funny to them.
I don't recall seeing your name on the guest list.
Nothing to be embarrassed about. I sometimes go by my maiden name.
It's pure fun and silliness.
Oh, you...
It's kind of not taking life all that seriously.
Oh, congratulations. I understand that Edna's pregnant again.
Yes, and if I catch the guy who did
Captain.
You know, it's like great stuff. It's very vaudevillian.
I don't know exactly what to expect when I come to work every day. Step on it.
We are at the audience, and so if it makes us laugh, we just hope it'll make other people laugh. And if it doesn't, then we'll retire.
Well, that may be how David feels, but I need the money.